would be I have a friend that will tell me, hey, I want to be part of the business. What would my returns be monthly? So just doing simple calculation, I would say my machines turn and burn at about a rate of 18%. If I pay this investor 10%, they will be happy, they will be satisfied, and then that 8%. Hello, everyone. This is Franco, Max Cash ATM, with another episode of ATM Talks. This time of the year, we talked a lot about goals in my company, with my family. What is that we want to plan and what is that we want to achieve? And I just want to share about my experience, like in the episode that we did before. And last year, about December, probably when the kids were out of school, we decided to do a board of goals. And there are some personal goals, there are some business goals, there are some spiritual goals. And what we want to do there is that we want to have a plan. And I just want to share the experience that I have with the goals that I had for my business. One of the goals that I did was to have, I don't know what was the count at that time, but the goal was to have 500 TIDs producing for us and generating revenue from. We were fortunate enough, we surpassed that quite higher, way higher than I was expecting. So that was something that you can measure, and that's something that you can have on a timeline. On 12 months, we decided to hit X amount of TIDs. I don't know what is that you do on your goals. If your goal is to increase dollar amounts or TIDs, I don't think you can increase transaction counts if you don't grow with TIDs. It's a hard way to measure it. I'm sure there's people that do way better than I do that have better experience. Another goal that I had was increase sales by grow sales by 2%. And of course, with the goal of having X amount of terminals or TIDs. And if that expanded, that can normalize because revenues can be lower overall. But if you have more TIDs, you could be flat or you can increase by X percentage. So when I have a goal on gross sales, of course, I'm going to have a goal on the bottom line. In this case, I decided to increase the bottom line by 3%, I believe. But then after doing some tax strategies and tax planning, we were able to create or find ways to classify stuff, to do expenses. And this was all with a tax planner. So I will highly recommend, if you are in this business, to get a good tax planner that will help you understand your business in a way that the IRS you can maximize all the deductions that the IRS will give you. And those were the very three simple goals that I had for the business. Number of TIDs, increase top line, and increase bottom line. But as you can imagine, that everything changes during a period of 12 months. So I guess I would like to invite you to have a goal. What is that you want to accomplish for 2026? If your goal is to get started, that could be a goal. Is your goal get a terminal out of state or a few terminals out of state? Is your goal buying a new route? Is your goal would be to cash out and have a cash loader take on your day-to-day activities? Is your goal could be enter into another business? And that was another goal that we have, that we like to have another source of income. We had in our goals to increase another source of income. The ATMs is great, but in our mindset is we have to add another source that will be significant at one moment, but it's something that you just have to cultivate, that eventually is going to grow into something bigger. So I wanted to reach out and just say, if you set goals or stuff that you can measure, of course, it will come out to increase your revenues. Another one will be to control or reduce your costs. There are some fixed costs in your ATM business: your hardware, your internet provider, the commissions that you already have contracted out with your merchant. I think it's hard to measure, or it's hard to control the cost of cash for us, because the bank can change the pricing on us pretty quick. That would be a major cost for us. The cost for insurance is something that is tangible that we will know. And I don't know what other major expense that you might have that you might be able to control. The biggest one that I can think, of course, is taxes and what do we pay commissions. And if you are planning on hiring a new person, what would that look for you? And what would be the impact on your top line and your gross revenue if you add one person at 20 hours, or if you add him at 40 hours, what would be that impact on your top line? Another thing that you can improve or you can create a goal would be improving customer satisfaction. I don't have a system in place for customer satisfaction. The merchant calls me directly in case there's an issue. Of course, we know if there's an issue through ERMS or through any sort of remote monitoring that we use that we will get from the machine. But if the machine is not communicating to the internet, we are not going to know what's happening. So it's something to keep in mind, to keep a good communication with your merchant or with any sort of personnel that works at your stores, that they will be able to communicate with you, or that they will give you the courtesy to call you and say, hey, we're expecting a big festival. We have this big sale going on. Can you go heavy on the load? I think that's the best way that you can improve your satisfaction, with a communication that goes both ways with the merchant and your cash loader, or directly with you. Another goal that you can set aside or that you can work on is getting your operation procedures more on a streamline. How can you streamline creating a TID, install that terminal, making sure that there's always a process in place for cash loading? How often are you going to set up your merchants with ACH? Are you going to pay them by check? Are you going to make sure that those checks are cash? Are you going to make sure that if you have your merchant on a reporting basis, that they are getting their reports? And this would just help you in the long term to make sure that your satisfaction is higher. And then in case another provider comes in and wants to sell the ATM, they will be on top of mind that my current provider sends me a statement monthly that is automated, and then there's an ACH or there's a check in the mail for them waiting every month. I personally prefer doing the ACH, even though customers will forget that the ACH comes from the ATM. I prefer that because in the past we have had some checks being lost in the mail or shuffled with all the other junk that they get. And then it is more work to cancel a check or to place a stop payment than paying somebody with an ACH. Something to keep in mind in there, though, is that if that account gets to be closed, or if they get another account somewhere else, that they might not notify you, and then you might be getting that ACH return. Another goal that you can set for your team would be to build a strong team. The way that I build a strong team is my cash loaders. My cash loaders are essential to me. They are great to work with. Of course, I have a lot of them here in Colorado and in the Colorado area. So maintaining those relationships and understanding that their needs are your needs as well, and that it has to be for them and for everybody that is involved in your operation. I don't have a sales team, but I think another way to build a strong team would be to have a sales team. I see my customers as part of my sales team, as they've been able to refer me to in their circle. And if they refer me to their people in their circle, it's a guarantee sale or a very warm sell. I like that. Another goal that you can keep in mind, and this is something that it might require more experience or more hands-on, is maintaining your financials very stable and knowing what you have in your books, having that P&L handy, having your balance sheet and understanding where is the money going, where is that cash flow going. If this month we have 20,000 transactions, out of those 20,000 transactions, how much is that is producing to the bottom line? And going down just a little deeper, if we have terminals, how much cash are we putting in those terminals and how often that is moving? How often do you want that cash to be moving? What is that the right amount of cash each machine just to maximize your returns? I think that will be the best way to do it. Another goal is enhance brand presence. This year, I was actually given the idea by one of my good friends, Marcus, that he suggested me to wrap my machines with a provider that he uses. So we started wrapping machines, and it works good in the way that the ATM gets to be noticed a little bit more. We wrap our ATMs with green all over them with our logo, all our information, and it works out great. I think they're more visible. On some of our machines, we put a topper with advertising, so it's another way for people to know that the ATM exists. Sometimes I tell everybody that this business is a business of habit. So people will walk through the same place and go through the same store, and sometimes they won't even notice that there's an ATM. But if they see this green piece of metal, or if they see this on top of the ATM that will capture their attention, and hopefully you will create a habit. And of course, what we are looking for is that they go to the ATM and pull money out and create the habit of pulling money out every time that they go to the grocery store, liquor store, or wherever they go. So enhance your brand presence. Make sure that your product is outstanding. And it's hard to say that for a piece of metal machine that will dispense cash to make it outstanding. But I think our cash loaders do a great job of making sure that the ATM is always providing cash. And we make it a point that we have to keep the machine looking good so it doesn't look sketchy for somebody who's trying to use an ATM. Ensure compliance. Compliance is very interesting. If you've been in the industry for a year or more, you heard about the keypads that we needed to update, and we did not have a timeline. So last year around this time, a lot of providers, we were rushing on upgrading our keypads, and we don't hear a lot about that. But we have to be ready, because Visa or MasterCard can tell us on January or February, all the keypads have to be ready in order for us to process. I think the same process happened when EMV was a big thing. We had a specific amount of time to upgrade the machines, but you don't want to wait until the last minute to do that. And one thing that I know for compliance that a lot of providers don't pay much attention is stickers. I would say if you have been in this business for a while, make sure you put stickers on your ATMs. Compliance sticker is Switch Commerce or CDS or FIS, whoever your provider is, DNS. Make sure you put that sticker in case there's a need that a customer might have. That sticker is the reference in how to communicate with others. Those are just simple stuff. Make sure that ADA, your machines are accessible for people that has any sort of special need. And just make sure that you're doing the right thing for your customers. I guess it comes down to another thing that you can measure. Another thing that you can do to measure is no. I guess I'm just rattling right now, but I'm thinking about the amount of inventory that you have. You can measure that, how fast you turn it around and how often you turn it around on a weekly basis, monthly basis. And then you're able to tell yourself and anyone, the returns that I have are X. And the reason that's important for me is because you could get one investor coming to you and asking you, if I provide you X amount of dollars, what is the return on my investment? So if you know that your return is, let's say 33% on a monthly basis with the inventory that how you rotate it, then you can tell an investor, I can pay you X amount for whatever you're giving them. So a good example with numbers would be, I have a friend that will tell me, hey, I want to be part of the business. If I give you $100,000, what would my returns be monthly? So just doing simple calculation, I would say my machines turn and burn at about a rate of 18%. If I pay this investor 10%, they will be happy, they will be satisfied, and then that 8% differential will make a big difference for me or my business to grow it or to make sure that I have more inventory and do less trips. So that's something that you can measure. This is a short episode that I just wanted to share with you guys on terms of goals that you guys can think about for 2026. If you are thinking about the business, about getting started in the business, like I mentioned in the episode before, your first goal should be to go and find a location. Once you find that location, find somebody that can help you do the processing and acquire the machine. Look for that mentor that will help you get to where you want to be and hopefully communicate very well on what is that you want to accomplish. Once you have that in mind, that could be your first goal. And then once you get to see how that performance on that single machine does, then your goal could be, let's add one a week. Let's add one per month. Let's add one every 2 weeks. And then you can see how the business scales. And then you might be celebrating 15 years later that you have X amount of machines and then you were able to convert your hustle into an actual business. For the people that has been doing this for a while, just keep in mind that whatever you were doing yesterday and today will be the outcome that you will get for tomorrow. So if you believe that you're doing everything right today, your tomorrow will be great. Your tomorrow will be way better. If you feel that what you're doing today is not adequate to get you to where you want to be tomorrow, sit down with somebody. And it doesn't have to be an ATM operator. It can be with a coach or anybody, or you can reach out to me and we can see how we can strategize in order to get you and to have a better system that will get you to where you want to be on a few years from today. And a few years from today goes very quick. And especially if you don't have a plan, everything will disappear. And you're just going to look back and realize that a lot of time was wasted when you accumulated a good cash flow business that will help you be more financial free. Again, my name is Franco, Max Cash ATM. And if you have any questions, concerns, or if you need help on operating your business, reach out. We are here to help. And we are a community of ATM providers, and we can help your business grow or get started. Thanks.